Okay. Last night I was working on this beam thing, and I didn't finish. Where if one of these beams I should make these non-magic mirrors to make it less confusing. Alright. They look like magic mirrors, which is confusing, but they're not. Let's make them fully. Let's get a level with a non-magic. There we go. There we go. I don't want to confuse the magic and the non-magic mirrors. In fact, I need to go through all the levels and make sure the meshes are consistent. Okay. Got non-magic mirrors, they just bounce the beams around. And I'm in this thing called an endpoint beam. And what is now working correctly is if I'm way back here and I push down, I'll go to the very beginning of the beam. But it doesn't work the other way yet. Whoops. It doesn't work the other way yet. So if I don't keep blocking myself, if I'm over here and I push down, I just go to the next mirror, which is no good. So that's what I was in the middle of fixing. I am all out of gum. I am all out of gum. So I'll get rid of these print statements. I don't really need them. So the problem is I need to do some stuff when I hit guys locally. I need to do some stuff when I hit guys globally. So I'm going to do this. So when I Okay, so we're going to do all this stuff to these guys. I guess including allocating this beam record. And then so this pause B computation is what we're replacing. All right. So anyway, down here, we do this, and then we're going to pass this down now. That's the difference. And then we're going to say, for guys hit globally, well, if I need to make the colors and the powers the same thing. Okay. So we have this guy's hit globally. We pass it. If it's an endpoint beam, then we say we've got to retrieve this record here. So we want to say assert guide at num endpoint info greater than 0. Info is this. So we're getting the last one that we set. And we're saying info.posB equals, no, info.endpoint B equals endpoint B. Where what's endpoint B? Well, it's a thing that we are going to compute. Well, it's going to be returned by this. I did that last night, and then I realized I would have to chop the code half and half, and I was like, I didn't want to do it when I was tired. All right. Oh, here's my big comment that won't compile. Okay. So now, Achoo! Return, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Source.position plus steps times dx. So the whole reason we're doing this is that this procedure traces out one segment of the light beam, but the light beam can now have an arbitrary number of segments, right? So yeah. Okay. So we have our endpoint B, and now we just want to return it. Wait. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did this yesterday. This is an integer. Integer times vector is not a thing. Beam color is not. Where the what? Oh, it's beam dot color, of course. Okay, let's see what happens. Didn't work. That still works, thank God. All right, so what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Let's find out. Oh, because we're just returning the endpoint B. of the most recent beam. That's not what we want. The problem is we don't do all the recursion right here. We just add this thing to new sources. What a hassle. I hope I don't drop people's productivity to zero. That would be terrible. Have I considered do as a separator for single statement if for? There is a then already. You can say if x then blah, right? I just don't use it. And I don't know, some people find it objectionable. Some people want it. I'm just not sure what to do about that. Well, like I always say, we're going to do a syntax revamp later, so I don't know where it's going to go. Here I can link you to a playlist of all the actual demos, and then the one you're looking for is there. So I go to my channel. If I can find the damn playlist link, there it is. Is it tough? All right. Do I have a cold? No, it's just like I just woke up, so I'm a little bit sleepy. So that is the playlist, and then for compile time templating, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for, but probably the one called polymorphic procedures would be the first one, and then we do polymorphic structs later. So this link is the first polymorphic procedures link. Well, I definitely keep the colon equals and colon colon declaration syntax, or might you do Pascal-like prefix declaration syntax? No syntactical changes off the table. Absolutely anything could happen. It's gonna be a serious rethink. Yeah, that first video is from 3.5 years ago. Okay. What time is it where I am? It is 9:40 in the morning. I woke up and I said, I'm going to solve this problem. And I've partially solved it, but I haven't completely solved it. Okay, so what we need to do is instead of returning the globally hit guys, we need to have an array of hit guys on the beam source that we copy onto a new beam source and add to. If we do it this way, I could just change this to be recursive, like I'm not sure why I don't, but at some later time, if we have things that shoot beams out in different ways, then maybe. I just spilled my tea on myself. That's how early in the morning it is. I'm just going to work with the way it is and make it work. So we're not going to return endpoint B. We're not going to do this here yet. I'm going to mark this with move me. We're not going to return endpoint B. Then, where does beam source info live? Too many windows. I keep missing mine. Okay, could have guessed that. I don't know why I didn't see it. All right, here it is. So, hit guys globally is going to be here. Just write it out. I could have made that polymorphic. Right. So we get rid of this. Get rid of that. Now, when I make a new info, the problem is LightScan also does this. Oh, that's an endpoint info. So in LightScan, when we make a new thing, I will say for, do I have a source info here? Okay. This is annoying me. I've got to convert LightScan to have a beam source info. For source info.hit guys globally, info.hit guys globally, it array add to that. You can Alt-Shift-Tab to go back in the Alt-Tab list if you miss a window. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm still using Ultra Search. It's unfortunate, but I just don't have time to look for something else right now. I'm trying to solve these problems like this one. Battlegrounds certainly is making lots of money, but it is not due to their technical choices. And in fact, if they made better technical choices, they would be making way more money. Because lots of people have left that game because of how janky it is and how unable they are to make progress on it. Do I think they could have made it as fast as they did had they made better technical choices? I don't actually know, right? I don't know enough details to speak to that, but I do think, I will say generally, most of these things that people do in the name of productivity do not actually let them make things faster. Um, Sometimes they do, right? If you want to do programming down to the really low level, the way I do sometimes, or especially the way Casey does, that totally does take longer, no question. Um, but that's not the same as, hey, we're going to use someone's engine. We can make choices A using the engine or choices B. Which one do we do? And I feel like they've made bad choices all around. That's obvious. Um, and they're paying for it, right? So one set of choices that even has very little to do with performance, well, some to do with performance, but it's not the main thing, is their game does most things client side in terms of hit detection and movement and stuff. And so they're cheater paradise right now. And they keep trying to do client side anti-cheat situations. And that's never going to work. It's never going to work. And they're suffering for it, and people are dropping out of the game. And they could have made better technical choices there. You know, so just to, I like to pick that one just to make it be something that we're not really arguing over, just to illustrate. Yes, these choices matter a lot. Um, that's all. Yeah, they're losing players to Fortnite, but one of the reasons they are losing players to Fortnite is that Fortnite performs a lot better and doesn't have a cheating problem. If those things weren't true, then PUBG probably would would retain a lot more players. Also, if PUBG were able to add things to the game faster, which they don't seem to be able to do, because they're fighting fires all the time. Like they can't even, their Twitter account, like every couple of days is like, oh my God, we have a server connectivity issue. Let's investigate, right? They're barely putting out the fires fast enough to even tread water. Bad mixed metaphors. You know what I'm saying? Punt means I'm not trying to solve the problem right now. Okay, let me get back to what I was doing. I wanna go to work eventually at the office, and I want to get this done before I go to the. This was supposed to be my quick thing that I did before I go to the office. And if I sit here and rant about PUBG, it's not going to be that fast. So, well, someone's saying if you look at it in isolation, they made bad technical choices, but if you look at how much money they made, nobody can say that they even did a tiny thing badly. That's not true. Because if you're a money guy, say you're one of these suit accountant guys, and you're like, oh my God, we made $300 million. But if we had done some slightly different things 12 months ago, and if we had delayed our launch by 1 month, we would have made double the amount of money or something, right? Um, that's a lot. That's a big difference. It's also a big difference between like we have a beloved franchise that people are going to want to buy the next piece in and then the next piece in and so forth. Or, oh, we launched a game and it did really well, but people have bad memories of it and they're not going to follow up, right? So, yeah. But it's not hindsight. It's not hindsight. I mean, that's what money people do for a living. And you're saying money people would say not a thing was done wrong. That's not true. That's not true. Okay. Right. What Jack Mott is saying is totally true, right? Having your client be authoritative in a competitive multiplayer game doesn't work because of cheating. We've known this for decades, and they still did it. So, yeah. I mean, it's not an easy technical problem because you have to figure out ways to make the client not be so authoritative while still not impacting the gameplay experience. So there's things to figure out there, but you know, the speed hacks that happen in PUBG did not work in Quake 3 Arena, right, in 2000, or even Quake 1, maybe, I don't know. They might have initially worked in Quake 1 and then they've patched them, or maybe not, but uh, like we've known how to do this forever, and they don't do a good job of it. So everybody's getting blue holed. The function signature of light scan is ugly. Because it has a lot of arguments? Yeah. Um, really, I think some of the arguments can go away. Because I'm going to be passing. Because if I copy stuff around, this endpoint A can sort of go into the thing that I pass around. All right. Let me just do this. Like one step only in endpoint A can be on this new argument I'm having. So when I call light scan, see, I call it with info.one step only. Okay. I don't know why this is two different functions, but whatever. Okay. In fact, this is just info.endpoint A. We'll clean that up after we do it. Source info. Huh? Oh. Say source info. Pasting the wrong code means you have to fix it twice. Okay. Now, when we hit an endpoint, where we were going to return, now after light scan, we say for info.hit guys globally, where does that move me? This. Wait, what? Right. Okay, this hit guys globally thing. Globally is not the right word. Because what happens is we need to pass it on to the next source and we need to get rid of ours. Okay. So if this is an endpoint beam, what a mess. What a mess. Okay. Something like that. We can get rid of this hit guys. Or maybe not. I get confused because of this 2 levels of... All right, whatever. Wow, this probably doesn't work, but... Okay, that still works, that's good. Going to the end doesn't work. It's trying to go to 0, 0, 0. It's trying to go to 0, 0, 0. All right. Oh, because I haven't, right. So here's what I have to do, at least. Guys hit globally is not the right name for this. So at least one problem is I have to pass it off. What? Hit guys globally. I have to pass it to the next guy. If I leave it in the old guy, it's going to get like overridden. This isn't going to solve it. Yeah, we're still trying to go to 0, 0, 0. But okay, so we do this light scan. Let's, just to make this more understandable, let's put the endpoint A in. All right, and let's put the one step only in. making it a little less ugly. Whoops. Wait, I left a colon vector 3 there. That's why I was confused. All right, one step only. We're only using it once. This is all more complicated than it needs to be. All right, this is fine. So, what are we doing wrong with regard to this? So, we call light scan compute endpoint B. There's no guys in the array. Okay. Ever. No guys in the array ever. Oh, because I keep saying the wrong thing. I keep thinking the wrong thing. This is way more complicated than I want it to be. Okay. We need to push information in the other direction, not this direction. So you think it would be better if I kept the same bit rate but went back to 1080p? Most people don't have a 4K screen to watch this on. I do. Lots of people have 4K screens. So what we're doing right now is this purple beam, when you stand inside it and you go left or right, then it brings you to the beginning or the end point of the beam. That's all. Very simple. Now, the way that I'm doing the beam tracing in the code is trying to anticipate other crazinesses that maybe I shouldn't bother with. I don't know. The way I'm doing it maybe makes it more complicated than it needs to be. But anyway, going to the beginning is easy, because as we trace forward along the beam in the code, we know where we started, right? So what I'm just trying to do is make it so I can go to the end. In this case where there's mirrors and we get broken up into a bunch of beam segments, right? The reason I'm not making it just a basic recursive run around the grid is we might end up in a time later when there's beam splitters or whatever, and you go multiple ways, which I don't know, maybe recursion would be better there too. I don't know, but I'm just going to solve this iteratively, and it should be simple, and it hasn't been because I haven't been thinking about it quite clearly. I keep doing slightly the wrong thing. So really what I want to do Really what I want to do for endpoint no, this ought to work. This ought to work. What I'm doing ought to work. We're handing a copy of the guys we hit off to a later beam. So the question is, why isn't that working? We're like propagating this list forward through the thing. But when we get to the end, we don't have any. So the only problem is we drop these guys on the floor somehow. And it might just be as simple as we never add them the first time. Let's get rid of this. So we have this hit guys. Oh, yeah, we don't want to put this in hit guys. We want to put this in info.hit guys globally. I meant to come back and clean this up, and then I saw a different array, and I was like, oh, I don't need to clean it up. Okay, he's still going to the wrong place. But it's better than not going anywhere. What? After we did all that, does he at least go backwards, right? Yes. After we did all that, it doesn't still do it. Man, I could do so many things that would be simpler. All right. Why is this? Wait, because we call light scan? What? Okay. Let's get rid of this argument to light scan. Because that's on the source info. Guys hit globally, hit guys globally. So we add the guy. And then if we hit a mirror, we pass it on and reset. It's not called info. What's it called? Source info. Okay, this is not so many arguments anymore. Whoever was complaining it was a crazy number of arguments. Guys, source info. All right. What the hell am I doing wrong? This should have been like a 5-minute thing. It's been a 2-hour thing. done a 2-hour thing. This is crazy. All right. At some point, I just tear it apart and redo the whole thing. Okay, when we find guys, we add the guy. And then, when we hit a mirror, we add that guy's stuff to our new thing, and then we reset. Ah! God damn it. It's the simple mistakes. We add the guys, and then we reset all the guys we just add, instead of resetting the old thing. Oh, man. That's the kind of thing. So, you know, people say like, oh, languages like Rust, they'll totally solve all these problems and whatever. You won't have any bugs. And it's like, no, that was a bug. That wasn't a resource bug. That was just, well, now it still doesn't work. Wait, we're going to endpoint A all the time. What? Oh, it's just backwards. That's weird. Why is it backwards? Oh, the directions are confused for some reason. It's working. It's working. I think. Okay. This last beam works fine. I mean, apart from this stutter, like if I teleport to the same square, then it doesn't take any time, which is not great. We'll compute that. When I'm here, so the problem is I'm pushing down. Which should be forward, taking me toward endpoint B. The problem is that I'm using the beam direction at the end, and I need to use the beam direction when it hits the guy. The thing that makes this all confusing, right, is some things I want to do when you hit the guy, and some things I want to do when you hit the end. So let's see. When do we pick between endpoint A and endpoint B? Wait, whoever uses endpoint A. It must be somewhere else. Yeah, here's the thing that decides. So when we put this beam info on the guy, let me verify that this is the problem. So if I'm here and I push down, it printed info beam direction 0, 1, 0, which is wrong. It should be 0, -1, 0. So I'm overwriting the beam direction This is inside do one beam. Let's call this E info. One thing that's confusing this is I have a beam source info and an endpoint info, and I'm calling them both like info. And when I say new info, it feels like, oh, this is the new of the other thing, but that's not really what's happening. Okay. So I set this. This seems right to me. Do I reset this later? No. Oh, duh. Okay. This is a problem. Remember when I got rid of that hit, guys? I got to bring it back. Or I put this into light scan. When I hit a guy, it's like, do I try to make light scan a lightweight routine that's reusable? Or what? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just going to pass this array for now. Yes, I know I deleted this before. We're bringing it back. Bringing it back. All right. Point to reverse. Oh, yeah. 5, 6, 6. This is already a pointer. There we go. That's great. That's all we've been trying to do this whole time. Let's get rid of these dumb printfs. Recompile. Make sure we didn't delete anything critical. God, that took so long. That's what kills you. You know, sometimes you're highly productive, and sometimes things are just set up in a way that confuses you, even though it should be simple. Okay, I fixed this item. That's the only item. So let me fix that thing. So I'm only going to do the teleport if the distance is big, and that'll get rid of that sound flailing. So yeah, well, it'll make a different sound flailing, but this at least tells you like, hey, something's going on. All right, so we're going to have him do a little animation step here. What? Where's gameplay visuals? It's in player control, right? No, I moved it. Wizard teleport, endpoint teleports. Post time. Right, I renamed those. They're not called recovery time anymore. All right. What? I guess. I guess I don't have a mandatory stationary. Oh. No, I do. Let's just say duration equals point. Let's just make it hard-coded long. To make sure that's the problem. Nope. What is going on? I don't understand why this isn't slowing him down. Oh, maybe because we're going on and doing some other logic below. Yeah. There we go. So we were falling through. I wasn't setting teleported, so we were falling through down here. All right. This is working more like what I wanted. All right, that might be it for the morning stream. Oh no! We were doing our subversion security sweep this morning, which means my password has changed. Oh my God! She gave me such a crazy subversion password. Hopefully you guys can't see this on the camera. Are my hands off the camera? Yes, okay. Update. Let's make sure that still compiles. God, what the fuck? Who messed with my things? Wait. Fucking. All right. I didn't realize. Well, Ignacio's not going to fix this until later because he's driving to the office. Wait, what am I even, what I'm looking at? Fuck. How am I looking at something that is not updated? What is going on? Oh, because I didn't update the compiler. All right. Oh my God. Yeah. It's way too big. Prefer to keep both until such time as we figure out how to do this. Combos. generated file and having the compiler work faster in these cases. All right. So what's going on in chat? Anyone have any questions about what code happened here today? Oh, God. Well, now I can't work because yeah. Did I find the problem with fmod? No, it is on my list to do that. I have a Sokoban bug list and a compiler bug list that's only got a few things right now. I mean, there's certainly other things that need to be done, but this is the short-term list. And I've been doing Sokoban stuff for the past few days, so I've been focusing on that list, which is also why this list is big, because in games, when you do work, it makes more problems, as we know. So this is what I'm going to be doing, and yeah, we'll go maybe in a couple days. We'll try to figure out why fmod doesn't work. Oh. Noticed a missing F in the declaration to the CRT. Should be fmod F. Maybe that's right, but it did seem to work in LLVM. No, there's fmod F right there. I mean, maybe this got fixed since that stream, for all I know, right? So maybe it just works now. Yeah, it might have been. So Ignacio, I think, moved these, and he might have checked them and cleaned them up and fixed any problems in them. So it might be that there was a mistake there, yes. Can I do a 1080p option as well? Well, Twitch has to give you the options. Maybe I should sign up as a Twitch affiliate so that they give options more. I don't know. I believe that it may have been wrong. I'll be very happy if it was wrong, because that means I don't have to debug anything. It means we'll go and we'll check, why did fmod not work? And it'll work, and we'll go like, okay, it must have been that thing. That'll be great. Compared to this 2 hours of debugging the beam bouncing thing that I just did, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I felt like going for the 4K stream just because it makes the text sharp, and that seemed like a good thing. Doesn't it seem like a good thing? Wow, that was scary. Why am I not partnered? I don't know, because I was never motivated to do that. Like back before, when they were asking me if I want a partner, they didn't have this affiliate thing. So they were like, oh, you just have to have a regular schedule of streaming and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm a professional game programmer. I like go to work and stuff. But maybe if I sign up on the affiliate, people will get quality options faster. I have to have an average of 3 or more concurrent viewers. I don't know if I can manage that. Two-factor authentication is required to be a Twitch affiliate. This is very serious. They want my phone number, and then they're going to start spamming me on it like Facebook does. I enabled two-factor authentication. Get started. Payout register. They want my bank account. Why can't I just be an affiliate and not get any money? Why does this have to be all about money? By clicking the I agree to the Twitch affiliate agreement. Oh my God. Click here if you are a resident of South Korea. General eligibility. I must be 13 years of age. They want me to give them exclusivity to live content. I don't think I want to do this. Because it means I can't upload to YouTube for 24 hours after I record. I mean, why would I do that? Yeah, I'm not going to sign up for this. Fuck them. It was certainly missing the F at that time. All right, well maybe it's all good now. Maybe the LLVM backend does something that happens to work in the case of that mistake. I don't know what that would be. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it like happens to zero their other float register in a way that makes the number make sense. I really don't know. I really don't know. All right, everyone. No, it's not allowed to implement its own fmod because we're calling explicitly into the DLL here. We're explicitly loading the DLL and calling into it. Well, no, actually, that's just in the case of, right, that's just in the case of bytecode which did work. So yeah, it could be that they were substituting their own. I don't know. I don't know, man. Do you think there's any reason we have skipped 2K and tried jumping to 4K? We didn't skip 2K. 4K is only 3860 across. It's not even 4000 pixels, right? It's 3860 across, and 1080p is 1980 across. 1080p is 2K by the 4K terminology, all right? We did 1080p for a number of years and then moved on. Why do I prefer not to use Unity builds in C++? Well, the compiler right now it's kind of a halfway Unity build. The problem is, if you start including really piggy header files, like for example, anything having to do with LLVM, right? As soon as you include anything from LLVM, it's a giant compilation time nightmare. And then you pay for that every time you change anything, right? So it's like, it's the pathological opposite of a Unity build. Or you get the downside of the Unity build, right? But on stuff like the witness and whatever, our compile times are fast enough. You know, we can do a full build of the witness. I timed it on the stream the other day. I think it was 40 seconds or 44 seconds. And a Unity build is not really going to be much faster than that. And you pay for it, right? But in this language, everything is by default a Unity build, so to speak. So yeah, it's just different strokes for different folks. Guys, don't have a dumb programming argument in chat. It's not really helpful. Like, it's fine to argue about whether things are good or bad, but as soon as you're attacking the person, it's not welcome in this channel, and I will ban people for it. So, you know, don't ad hominem people. It's not cool. It's not cool. With a 40-second build time, how are you able to add features in? Do you code then wait that duration? That's a 40-second full build time. You almost never have to rebuild the whole game, right? So usually it's a small number of seconds to rebuild the witness. It's like 5 seconds or something. I mean, you ask that as though that's long, though. I've worked on games with a 40-minute build time, okay? That is painful. Any thoughts on GPU prices skyrocketing due to crypto mining? Yeah, I think GPU prices are skyrocketing due to crypto mining. Do I feel my goals back then and now are the same? Has anything changed? Yeah, the ideas for the language are actually different. They're better now. And that's because just once you start doing something for real, assuming you know what you're doing, it just gets better. So most of the ideas that I had in that original set of 2 talks, even though they were enough to motivate me to work on this stuff, they're actually not as good as what I've ended up implementing. So there's that. Isn't the 4K meant to be 4 times the pixels of full HD? I mean, why not do twice the pixels with a resolution of 2560 by 1620? I don't know. Maybe because people were just competing on resolution and just jumped it up. I mean, the thing is, we were stuck on 1080p for a long time. Like PC resolutions, like laptop resolutions, actually went backwards. I had higher than 1080p resolution in like 2000 or 2001, um, because you had like 1600 by 1200 as a resolution that you could get. I mean, it wasn't as wide, but you had more vertical pixels, which is what mattered. And then when 1080p TVs happened and stuff, and people standardized on those for cost, and the laptops all started using 1080p panels, that was terrible, and that lasted for a long time. So I think what happened was just while we were stagnating due to cost, the technology actually kept getting better, such that by the time people decided, like, oh, maybe people actually want resolution again, um, it was easier enough to go 4K that why would you stop in the middle? That's what I think happened. But I don't know. I'm not in that industry. I don't know anything about it. I'm not answering the Sam Harris Jordan Peterson question because I don't think, like, there's too much of people talking about what other people said on the internet, and that just turns into garbage information. Like, the worst parts of Twitter and the worst parts of anything is people commenting on what other people said. So I just prefer to let other people say what they said, and I'm going to say what I said. And if I ever end up talking to one of those guys, then we'll say what we say as a primary source. But I don't like getting into gossiping about what other people said, or it's not really gossip. It's not like I want to say anything bad about them, but it's just it, the importance of your speech globally throughout your life is a result of what you decide to speak about, right? And so it just talking about what other people said tends to become petty, right? Regardless of who it was and what they said. So I just, it's not that interesting to me. Do I use Lexer parser generators like Flex and Bison, or is it all hand coded? It is all hand coded. I don't think Lexer and parser generators are a good idea. Firstly, because they don't really solve any hard problems. And secondly, because they make it harder to have good error messages and have fast code. Yeah, I mean, don't you think, for example, don't you think Twitter would be a lot better if people would just stop talking about what other people said and find interesting things to say themselves? Wouldn't that actually make Twitter a useful platform again, Especially if people would stop talking about what Donald Trump said. But, you know, just every Twitter scandal of the week is like what somebody didn't use exactly the right word when they were talking about an Olympic skater or something. It's just so petty. It's ridiculous. And that's just what happens when you dive into this spiral of considering what people said to be so important. Yeah, no, I get the question. So here's the thing. If I had enough of a response to that conversation that I felt like I had something to say on my own, then I might say that. But I didn't. I mean, I sort of understand. I, I'll say this. I understand where Sam's coming from. I kind of understand where Jordan's coming from, but not completely. And I think Jordan didn't at that time completely understand where he was coming from, and so Sam was serving a useful function of pushing him on that. And they're going to have another conversation soon, and so um, maybe we'll get a refined version of it or something. So we'll see. Um, can I suggest sites to keep up with developer discussions or news? Not really. I don't know of any good websites for that, right? So like Hacker News is a site with a lot of developer discussions, but most of those discussions are by people who do web stuff most of the time, so it doesn't really cross over into what I find interesting or care about. So I don't go there very often anymore. I used to, but it was a waste of time. Um, Apart from that, I don't know. I would like a good, serious online forum for people solving hard technical problems that are in the neighborhood of what I work on, but I don't know of any such a thing. Does my compiler use a recursive descent or shift reduce parser? If shift reduce, did you come up with a finite automata by hand? No, it's recursive descent. I don't I don't think shift reduce parsers are very good as an actual thing that you run code for, right? The shift reduce paradigm is an interesting way of making sure your language has no ambiguities, right? What's my opinion of MongoDB? I've heard it's not great for use in video games. I've never used it. I just gave a rant the other day about why you don't want to use a database in your video games, no matter what. I don't understand why people are talking about using databases in video games all of a sudden. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, like, why would you use a database in your game? What for? Unless it's like a server-based MMO and you want a database on the server. But like in the game, in a single-player game, how does that make any sense? Why does tau end in 4.7 instead of 8.5? I don't know. That might have been. Let's go to wolframalpha.com and look up tau, see what it says. Decimal approximation. Oh, they have a different tau. What is their tau? I'm going to say pi times 2 instead. 6.2831719586476. Well, the next digit is 6, so it really should be 8648. But I don't know where you're getting your. Oh, this one. This one's what you were talking about. I don't know. I don't know where I got this initial one from. 6.283185. Yeah, I don't know. Good catch. I might have just printf'd 2 times pi, and we didn't have enough precision to like get that or something. I don't know. Have I found any underbelly ugly parts from Sokoban? Not really. Most of the problems we're having right now are just like the dependency problem is hard to do well and robustly. So I need to keep rewriting that until we finally get it. But that's a compiler internals issue. That's not a language semantics issue. The language semantics are turning out pretty good. The one thing we're running into in language semantics is we don't have enough namespace features yet. So that's going to be the next thing that we add. But that's not a problem. It's just something we haven't done yet. And then there's some other things. So Ignacio did this compiler-generated OpenGL file. What is it? So he did this thing where he generated this GL file from specs. So I guess there's this thing called GLAD that generates GL stuff, and he changed the syntax of the outputter. And the problem is this thing is like 13,000 lines, and it's mostly declarations. And our namespace management keeps namespaces as linear arrays. So I think what's going to happen is it'll be interesting to do a profiling step where we just see who is taking all the time and work on that. It's a very reality-based way of firing up telemetry and seeing where the slow parts are. Maybe I will do the using rewrite soon. It might be straightforward enough that I can do it in a day. You don't think SQLite is a good idea to say store a player's inventory? Yeah, no, I ranted about this like 2 days ago or something. Why would you use a database to store a player's inventory? It doesn't make any sense. An inventory is an array of entities. Maybe if it's in an RPG, maybe with some additional information, right? What do you have? You have, how many items is your player going to have in their inventory, right? 50? Why is that in a database? It's just a data structure. We have these things called data structures in programming, which is how you store things. How do I handle disposing of loaded assets and or pointers? Do I use constructor destructors? Or do I create init and dispose functions? I mean, that's a very broad question. You said loaded assets and or pointers, and pointers could be pointers to anything. For assets, we have this catalog system that handles loading and unloading them. But for generalized things that you have a pointer to, I mean, that could be anything. Am I still not worried about finalizing syntax? Correct, I'm not worried about finalizing syntax. Do I go to the office or coffee shop when I'm looking to be the most productive? I am not that productive in the office, which is why I like to stay away from it. But it's important for me to go in to talk to people about things all the time. How much less productive is streaming? Streaming is a little bit less productive to moderately less productive. But, so like this thing that happened last night and today where it took me 2 hours to solve this beam problem, I don't think that would have happened if I wasn't streaming, and it's because just when you're streaming, part of your brain is occupied by the fact that you're streaming. However, streaming is fun, and it gives me a break from non-streaming, and so I think it ends up letting me program for more hours. So maybe I get more done on the whole. Wouldn't it make sense to have a database to store access, item, enemy stats if they have the same structure? You could have a table with thousands of items and quickly access the stats for one. What, like thousands of items? Dude, you can write a for loop that iterates over thousands of items in a tiny amount of time. Games are fast, okay? Thousands of items is instantaneous. You don't need a database for that. You don't even need a real data structure for that. Like a flat array is fine for almost all cases of what you just described. This is what people don't seem to understand. And we get all this crazy software overcomplication. A database will be much slower for that case that you just mentioned than just iterating over a flat array. I had probably a bad idea of iterating over user-created guard classes in function declarations, such as shoot, colon, whatever, can fire. The function would return immediately if the player has no ammo, is in the middle of reloading, etc. Would it make sense? I don't know exactly what you're proposing, but why isn't that just regular code? Like, why don't you say if not can fire return at the top of shoot? Like, why? There's a trap of like making, when people think about designing languages, they start to come up with features that maybe seem cool at first, but that don't actually solve any problems. And it's important to stay away from that trap, actually. Do I let the destructor handle the unloading of assets, or do you unload them manually when the game is closing? Okay, this is totally two different things. A, why would you unload assets when the game is closing, right? The, the operating system is about to free all your memory anyway. You don't need to unload assets. This is something that all the RAII people totally have wrong, right? Like, you don't, if your whole program is about to exit, you don't want to destruct anything because you're just burning CPU cycles and annoying the user. So don't do that. In general, no, we wouldn't do something as important as unloading assets in a destructor. You want to call an explicit routine. Because once you're in a destructor, your control flow is weird, and you don't really want that. They're probably meaning when you close your program, saving to the hard drive. I mean, you would save the game state to the hard drive, but that's not an asset. That's just like data that you put together real fast. I think a lot of people don't have a solid of how fast computers actually are. It's true. Most people don't understand how fast computers are. It is absolutely true. When is the next game coming out? I don't know. I don't know. Did I already get experience with the language when it comes to writing parsers, for example, for XML? Well, I wouldn't touch XML with a 100-foot pole because I think it's terrible. It's one of the worst file formats ever made. However, I have made simple file formats for stuff like the slideshow viewer and the variables loaded in the, so I've, for example, in Sokoban, we have this animation graph file format it's a very simple, straightforward format. And, we parse that and stuff. Eventually, I'm sure we'll want to load some more standardized formats and do stuff with them. Oh, we have a mesh loader and stuff like that. I mean, file parsing is just not that hard, so it's not something I stress over. Say you call the method like if can fire shoot, will the compiler optimize it to remove one can fire check? No, probably not. But it's not important usually. Yeah, I'm not using forcoder just because switching your editor puts a big speed bump in your flow, right? Because you're not used to the new editor and stuff. And I just don't want to take that speed bump right now. I don't want to spend the time to figure out how to use forcoder and set it up for me and all that. Sometime I probably will. JSON is probably not as bad as XML, but it's bad. So, yeah. Ever did a game jam like Udam Dare? We did the Indie Game Jam 0. We did one of the first game jams, if not the first game jam. Maybe it was the first in-person. I don't know. But I don't do them that often because I am usually just working on big projects. Someone's asking why JSON is bad. I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to have a huge rant. I think this is the end of the stream for now. No. I want to cross one more. Oh, I can't because somebody swapped out GL and we can't run Sokoban. Okay. It's going to be the end of the stream for now. Maybe we'll do another one tonight. I've certainly got a bunch of gameplay stuff to work on. Have I looked at CLion as IDE? No, I don't really want an IDE. I don't think IDEs do anything useful. How would a simple inventory work? Would it be an array of items? Yeah, I mean, I usually store inventories as an array. And then if there's extra data, like which slot on the guy's, which box on the guy's inventory screen is it in, then it's an array of small structs that have like, here's the box, here's the item. It's very simple, very simple. All right, see you guys later.